So before I go ahead and put these covers together, I just want to explain how I'm doing it so that you get some kind of idea. The majority of the time I make my covers different each time. Depends what mood I'm in and what I've got laying around, and I'm sure there's other people that do that as well. So let me just show you what I've got here. I found my envelopes. So what I've got is a large envelope, and I have inserted half a manila folder inside of it, so it's good to go. I have this fabric, and that's a curtaining fabric, and I've just clipped it around there and ironed it first and clipped it with this border. I can show you this one. I've glued the edges down. I've stitched all the way around it. This one I forgot to glue the manila folder to the envelope, and so it was a little bit too loose feeling. So I ran some stitch lines down it just so it didn't feel like it wasn't holding very well. But this one I remembered to glue mainly the fabric on that side and the manila folder, just so it didn't feel as loose. But as you can see, I've just done a stitch all the way around. And once I did that, I went back with a little bit of tacky glue and just glued all the edges down just to keep it nice and flat. What I will do after this is I've got some paper, and this is actually Stamperia paper. And I think it's the Orchids and Cats. I still had a couple of sheets that I didn't use out of that collection, and so I thought, well, that's wonderful because I can use it on here. It was slightly small. That's the 12-inch mark there. So the piece that I cut off the bottom of the 12-inch part, I've put down the side there. So that worked out quite well. And that will just fit inside. Actually, I think that one's for the other one. There's slightly different sizes, but I will show you anyway. That will sit just inside there, and there'll be a little border all the way around. And then what I'm going to do, let me show you. I also glued some Tvec on that side of the spine as well, just to give it extra strength when I sew my signatures in. And then I've got a little piece of beautiful lace from Crafty Me Shop. This is a pink lace, and that's going to go there in the center. And then I printed out a piece of the paper collection, the Bella collection from the Paper Cameo, and I've folded it over like that. It wasn't quite big enough to go all the way across, so I'm having to overlap it, but that won't be noticeable because of the spine, and that I will just extend like that so it goes all the way to the edge of that cover piece as well, like that. I will glue that, and then I will stitch probably across. I may embellish it, then I will stitch it to this cover as well. I will glue this in places to hold it in its position, and then I'll be ready to put my signatures in. But that's how I am putting together the covers for my journals. I haven't decorated the front yet. I'm still thinking about what to do on the front. The fabric's beautiful. I'll leave it plain on that side. But I do want to put something on the front here. I've made a couple of little cameo pieces, kind of like those, where are they? Oh, kind of like these, but I've made them bigger. They were the ones I made, and then I shrunk them down for the little ones. So I may use a cameo piece on the front with a few embellishments, but I don't know yet. So that's how I'm making my covers. So I'm just marking up where I'm putting my holes. There's my pocket there that I've glued on. I've stitched across top. I put a bit of vintage lace on that as well. I've put my lace on. There's my Tvec, and I've just marked points. I use this for most of my journals until it wears out, and then I just make another one, and it's 5 holes evenly spaced, marked so that I can put my holes in the same spot. And so I've got an all somewhere here. I'm in a mess. Here it is, and I'm just going to put it on to the center of those marks. Put a little hole through all the way down. And this is a hollow spine, so it's not actually, the binding doesn't go through to the outside cover. It's only attached to, the signatures are only attached to this internal cover, inside cover I should say. Okay, so we have our little holes marked there. And now what I do, you can use a book for this. You don't have to have any fancy equipment. You can have an old telephone book or something like that. I just happen to have this little signature helper, whatever. There's a name for it. I've forgotten what it is. And I got this. Kerry from Witchcraft Do You Do made this for me. And I think she sells them still. I'm not 100% sure whether she still sells them or not. But there are other people in other countries that make them as well. So for shipping purposes, you're probably better off trying to find one in your own country. Okay. Just make sure. So I basically just line it up where I want it. Might have that down the bottom. Okay, I usually stand up for this, so I might need to stand up, and I just can't quite see it straight enough. There's still a lot of decorating to be done in these pages, so I just find it sometimes when you get to a certain point, it's good to have the journal put together. So you can get the right feel for it. Doesn't matter where that blue one is. Quite happy with it anywhere. And that's the center there. I don't have anything in the center there, so I'll probably do maybe some stamping or something. Do I have something I can put in there? A bit late now, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Anything here I could put in there? That's too thick. Okay. Okay, you don't have to have anything in the center of your signatures. You honestly don't. You can just decorate them. So let's get a couple of big paper clips if you've got them. If not, you can use clips or bulldog clips or anything like that. Make sure it doesn't move around too much. Okay, and that will keep it all in the right, like I said, I normally do this standing up, which helps keep everything just, let me just stand up and make sure that's right. You don't want your papers too crooked, unless you're going for a really, really shabby look. Then you can get away with it, I think. Okay, so we've got that there. That looks about right. Putting that same piece of paper I've got in here. Now, I have little marks. That means top. I have little marks on where I need to be placing this, but basically you want to get it fairly central. So those outside ones are for my cover. So I've got to try and center this. There we go. So that it's going to be central to the cover it's going on. And then I just put my holes in. And these will match the holes that I just punched on the inside cover to attach it to. Do make sure you've got this the right way round before you start putting too much together there. So that's one of our signatures. And those holes there should line up lovely with those holes on that side, but of course we put it on this side. I need to go ahead now and do the other signature. I have now finished putting the holes in both of the signatures, and I have the lovely job of sewing it to the internal cover. Now, I don't know if anybody does this very elegantly. It's actually, it's a fiddly little job to do sometimes. Sometimes it goes in quite nicely, sometimes it doesn't. It's just one of those things. So I'm just threading up a thread. I don't have any wax linen thread left, so I'm using a strong crochet thread. It seems to be nice and sturdy. So I have my two signatures pinned together. I'm going to put one to the side there. This is the first signature. I don't want my threads inside my signature because I never really know what to do with them anyway. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting my needle in the center hole of the first signature. It is important that each time you make a stitch that you're on the correct line. It's easy to go from one and accidentally go to another. So always keep in mind that you need to be on the right line. And do make sure you've got everything the right way up. Like there's my pocket and my lady's facing that way. So you want to make sure that everything is the correct way. Most people have had the experience of sewing something on upside down. So we're going to put that straight through into that center hole. I'm going to pull it through and leave quite a good tail on this side, just so I don't accidentally pull it through. I'm going to go in my next hole here, and it does involve turning the book around different ways, and then finding where my next hole is here and pushing it through, back through the spine there. Turning my book once again. I'm going to go in my next hole here, pushing it through, finding the next hole on the signature. I hope you can see. And it helps if you keep your pages on an angle, like the angle that you put the hole in is how the easiest the needle will come through it. So pulling that, making sure not to pull the thread all the way through. You still want to have that tail. Coming back into that same hole that we went through before, through to here again. I'm pulling through. Okay, and now this is where people vary. I skip the middle hole here and go through to this one over here on the other side. So once again, holding my book. Can't see. Hang on. Okay, we'll get it all the way through. Now I can see. I'm going through. Taking it through there. And through the last hole. And like I said, making sure you're on that one line. And then we've just come out here. We're going to go back through that hole. There. Like that. And then the last one is through the middle one again. And back through onto the spine. Now, that thread is on that side of that piece, and this one I'm putting on the other side there, like that. And that's it, and I'm amazed. That went through quite nicely, didn't it? I won't tempt it by sewing the second one in for you on film, because what's Murphy's Law? Pull those taut. Do not pull them ultra tight, because there is a chance you could snap your thread. And that's really sad when that happens, because then you have to sew it again. So do a double knot. You can do 2 or 3. It's up to you. I can do 4. There we go. And that's how you sew the signature in. And that's... Oh, I could have left those on so it doesn't flop around too much once I get my next one on. So that's following that line down that spine. That's the inside. And now I'm going to sew the second one in exactly the same way. The more signatures you have, you just have to be patient with it, because it can get a bit fiddly if you've got a lot of signatures to sew in. This is only 2 signatures, so it shouldn't be too bad. But once again, make sure you've got your signature the correct way around. My pocket's there, the lady's facing that way, so I'm going to be putting that one in there. I have left 1/2 inch between my signatures. That will help counterbalance it a little bit for when everything is put in the pockets, because it tends to go like that. You can put a little bit of lace or something down there, a little ruffle of lace. It's up to you. I sometimes put a nice little ruffled lace. You can glue that on at the end, because it does tend to get in the way of stitching your signatures in a little bit. But that is entirely up to you. There's many things you can do. I've done pockets in there. I've done like ribbons to tie something in there as well. So, it's up to you. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, so we'll find out when I'm done. Okay, I'll go ahead with this and then I will be back. So both signatures are now stitched in. I have my cover here. Like I said, I have just put a decoration on the front there. I've left a little gap there because I'm putting something there. But all I've got is some thick crochet lace. I've got this lovely little ribbon trim from Gail here. It's got a little wiggly edge to it, and a lovely piece of the embroidered trim that I bought from Ivy. And so my book will just sit in there like that. But what I have to do is stitch it on, and that's mainly because it makes me feel better when I'm selling journals, if I can kind of feel they're not going to fall apart on me. I could glue it, But I feel better if it's stitched on in some cases. It depends what it's made out of, really. So I'm just going to use some clips, and you see how it just sits inside of the outside cover. I'm just using these clips to hold it for a moment, and then I'm going to go ahead and stitch it on. I can only stitch so far though, because the spine gets in the way. So what I may come back and do is just put a hand stitch thread right over here next to the spine, just to keep it. I'll stitch on the machine as far as I can, but I can't get all the way in there. It just won't allow me to, my machine. And I'm getting a new sewing machine. It was my birthday last week, and my husband has bought me a new sewing machine. I still haven't got it because we bought it online, and apparently everything takes time these days. And I'm getting the exact same sewing machine that I have had for 24 years. And the reason I'm getting the same is because it's been a good sewing machine. And why change something that you like? There's lots on the market these days, but the problem is I don't know how they work. And I like the machine I've got. It's just, it's getting old. And while I've got the chance to get a new one, I think I will. So, I mean, I've still got some life left in this one, so I might not use the new one straight away. But it's there. And it's a good price too, so I have to, think of all these things. So, all right, I'll go ahead and do this, and I'll come and show you. Well, actually, no, it's okay. I don't have to do that because I've already done the first one, so I can show you the first one. Finish clipping this on before you kind of got to maneuver it a little bit. See, it seems to be more one way than the other, and I don't like that. So why is it? Maybe I've pinned it this. Okay, maybe that will help. If I don't put the clips in, it will move around, see, and I don't want it moving around. I'm trying to keep things as even as I can. Put lots of clips in, it should be all right, I hope. Because I have to sew it from the front face, the front side, so I do the best. Okay, that looks about right. Okay, so I have to stitch that. I can show you the other one because I've already stitched it. As I stitched it, I also added a piece of tulle. I stitched that on there, wrapped it completely around, stitched it on there as well. That's the stitching. It's the outside line is when I sewed the fabric to the outside cover. The inside line in the darker thread is the step I'm doing now. As you can see, it's gone all the way through. So that's how I have done my cover. Like that. There, I've got a pocket there. It's all stitched. As I said, see, you can only get so close. So I will come back and perhaps either put some strong glue just under there or just do a hand stitch. Maybe stitch something on like a flower or something just to hold it down closer to the spine. Yep, so that's that, and there's my closure. And now I am going to go off and I will probably start decorating it. So this is the last how-to video on this series, and the next one will be the flip through of the completed journals. I hope you've enjoyed watching me make these, and like I said, this is not the only way to make journals. This is just how I'm making these particular journals. The next ones I make could be completely different, you know, and we learn things as we go along as well. I'm going to make sure I put that back in the right pocket. We learn things as we go along as well, so we change things up a little bit. So thank you so much for watching today. Bye.